up to another good morning. Time to go. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. We are all looking for adventure. We are all.
Welcome back to the 3x5 Live podcast. On this podcast, we talk about mindset, mindfulness, everything productivity. Last week, we spoke about making happiness a habit. I really like that topic. Jesse and I have continued to talk on that since doing that podcast. I actually talked to some people about that topic. It's come up a lot since we had our recording a few weeks ago. This week, we are going to talk a little bit about some things I learned from a recent conference I went to. So I've mentioned it on this podcast before about how I'm part of this guys group called GoBundance. It is a bunch of like-minded individuals. A lot of them are in the real estate space, a lot of entrepreneurs. But there's 8 pillars that we try to work on as a group, and that's, 8 pillars of life. So their pillars within the GoBundance organization is health, lifestyle and adventure, family, financials, contribution, spiritual, personal growth, relationships, and kind of like your environment, tribe, community. So those are kind of the pillars that we collectively as a group, it's not all about business. We get deep into family. We get deep into, maybe personal traumas that we've had as a youth and working through that together as a group, as a community. So this event was out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is beautiful. I've never been to the Grand Tetons, and it's absolutely stunning. So you'd have adventure during the day, and then at night we'd do some breakout sessions. We'd have some speakers coming in. So, during the day we were whitewater rafting or mountain biking or going on a hike in Grand Tetons National Park. So it was a great event. Really reset me going into the summer season, which business life starts to slow down, which is fantastic, but kind of keeping me present into my growth trajectory forward. But one speaker that came in, his name was Joshua Wenner, and he was talking about the nervous system. And he started out his talk with, back in the hunter-gatherer time, he was just like, guess how much stress those guys had in a week? And people were throwing out numbers, and it ends up being about, they'd have like 16 hours of stress. And that was during hunting. Maybe they were being attacked by an animal. Maybe they were trying to climb some mountain to get to a new camp or whatever that was. They had about 16 hours of stress in a week. And think about what we have now. I mean, it could be 40, 60 hours, not just stress at work, stress at home, stress because of our habits and we can't sleep. All these things, have compounded in our life to create all this stress. And what does that stress do? Well, it makes our trigger point a lot lower. So when we get triggered, we react in certain ways. And a lot of times it's unhealthy ways. So Joshua was going into, hey, what are some different tactics that we can do to help when those trigger moments happen? As as is dialed in or, mentally healthy as we think we might be, we all get triggered. I don't care where you are on your growth trajectory, we all get triggered. And he has this thing he calls CPR. So the C is conscious awareness. So you have conscious awareness that you are being triggered. Then you pause, so that's the P, and then you regulate yourself through a tool. So CPR, that's how he says it. So the first step is really having conscious awareness. You walk into the house and, you get triggered because the house is a mess because your kids throw stuff all over, whatever that is. Then it's having the awareness to pause and then tap into a tool that's going to help you through that little trigger moment. So some of the tools that he was talking about in the seminar was, the first one was breath. You can do the most common breath work is 6 breaths in, or breath for 6 seconds in, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And then you could do box breathing, which is, 4, 4, 4, 4. So 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. So those are some different breath work. So when you are triggered in any way, maybe breath work works for you. Another one is physical touch. And maybe, your wife triggered you and you go and you hold your kid. Or very common is you go and if you have an animal in the house, that's why a lot of times if you do have an animal in the house, your insurance is lower because it brings down your stress level. So go hold your dog, pet your dog, hold your cat. And that can help a lot of people in that pause section. Go calm your nervous system down by physical touch with a loved one or an animal in your house, and then re-engage in whatever the activity was that, was triggering you. The third one he had was cold immersion. I could see this really working for me if it was a heavy trigger moment when I just felt like completely thrown off by a situation. Go take a cold shower. Just like that just gets all your nerves and all your good oxytocins firing, and then re-engage in the situation. Those of you that are lucky enough to have a shower at work, this could even work in that sense where you've had a really stressful day. You don't want to bring that stress into the house. Take a cold shower before you leave the office, then re-enter the house. I thought that was a fantastic one. Obviously, exercise, going for a walk. Even James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, he has a fantastic newsletter. I highly suggest that you guys sign up for his newsletter. It's called 321. So it's like 3 quotes by him, 2 quotes by somebody else, and then 1 question. And he had a quote last week that was something about if he's feeling down, he's feeling depressed, he feels exponentially better after his workout, but not after his workout, after the first set. So he'll go down and let's say he's doing chest that day. So he goes down and does 1 set of bench presses. And after that, let's just say that's, 5 minutes. Like he feels so much better. He continues the workout, but just that 1 set resets him. So it could be something where you're triggered, you go for a walk, or maybe you go down to, if you have a home gym, and then just lift some heavy weights real quick, and then re-engage in whatever, you're trying to work through in that moment. And then the last one he had was chanting and singing. So, doing some type of chant to get yourself out of it, or singing. I think a lot of this would be probably more applicable if you're in your car compared to just breaking out in song in your house. But that was his last tool he had. And one thing that we kind of talked about as a community when we were going through this practice is sharing it with your kids. If you guys have young kids, is when you get triggered at work or something happens at work or you had a bad day, instead of going home and putting on the I'm super dad, I'm super mom face, to really talk about it over dinner. Like, hey, this happened to dad, this happened to mom, this happened to me today, talking to your kids. And this is the tool I use to handle it. I had a really, rough conversation with a customer, a client, a colleague. So you know what I did, guys? I went outside and I went for a walk for 5 minutes and did some breathing exercises. When I came back, I felt so much better. So giving your kids the tools that when they get triggered in the future, oh, this is what dad did, this is what mom did, to help them realize hey, we're not perfect. We have these emotions as well. But these are the solutions that we're using on a daily basis to help us get through those. So that was one really big takeaway I had in this conference that I wanted to share with you guys. Again, CPR, having the conscious awareness, then pausing, then regulating yourself through a tool, those tools being breath, personal touch, physical touch, cold immersion, exercise, and something vocal like singing or chanting. So that's what we got this week. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Until next time, enjoy your spring going into summer. See ya.
We are all